bum bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Hello. All right. My voice is not warmed up. That's not good. I'm gonna be streaming Ace Attorney. Got my fluids. Stay hydrated. I think we're gonna do because apparently you need to do these escapades in between the episodes. So we're gonna do the first class cabin escapade. They're like tiny little short stories that I guess happen in between the episodes. Quali! Yo! Here, let me get you a shout out. Boy. Yeah. Go check out Quali. Quali's awesome. How are you? Are you doing well? Did you remember to do your do-re-mi exercises? I should have. Since I always do funny voices. Well, I don't do funny voices, but I try to add intonation to each character. Although I do a British accent for Sherlock. I might do British accent for the other Brits too, but... Yeah, of course. Doing good? I'm doing pretty good. Having a pretty good day so far. Had a small lunch. Had a grilled chicken sandwich. Oh, I guess I'm playing as Cosma. That's interesting. It's almost 2 weeks now since we left Japan. My lunch is my dinner. My sleep got wrecked during the week. Oof. I know that feeling. My sleep schedule is also not great now. I'm going to bed around like 1 or 2 a.m. I was going to bed at a decent time before. I seem to only be able to go to bed at like 7 p.m., 8 p.m., or like 3 a.m. I can never like go to bed at like 10 or 11. It's always go to bed at like really late or way too early. One of the two. It seems to be how it works for me. Ba-da-bum bum bum. Ba-da-bum bum bum. It's almost 2 weeks now since we left Japan. I can't believe how quickly time has gone. So, our next port of call will be Shanghai. Who's there? Who could it be at this hour? A detective. A detective? Who? A great detective. I don't get it. What's a great detective? If you would just be so kind as to open the door. Oh, yes, sorry, of course. Is something wrong, detective? Are you investigating a case? Wherever a great detective goes, great cases occur. Indeed, I am the root of all evil. Sorry? I don't think I want you in my cabin. Under our very noses on this steamship is a terrible theft that has just occurred. What? You noticed, I presume. The brief power failure a short while ago. Oh, yes. The power couldn't have been out for more than 10 minutes, though. Indeed. Yet, that was ample time for this wicked crime to be perpetrated. I see. Well, clearly it's a case that needs investigating. Precisely. The culprit ran away in this direction. Down the first-class cabin passageway here. Really? The thief came this way? I'm quite sure of it. It may have escaped the attention of the dim-witted crew, but not of the great detective. To that end, I would be obliged if you would allow me to investigate here in this cabin. Well... How curious. Is there some reason why it would inconvenience you to have your cabin searched? Inconvenience me? Well, I'd be lying if I said no. After all. There is a stowaway in that wardrobe right over there. It's just me in here, you see, no one else. So you might perhaps want to focus your attention on one of the other first-class cabins. As it happens, you are the only first-class passenger at present. The other cabins are vacant. Oh! Groan. Oh, it's probably the wardrobe. Did that rather tragic rumbling of the stomach arise from within you, my good fellow? Of course. As I said, I'm the only person in here. It's not long until dinner time now, so perhaps we could do this afterwards? I do apologize, sir, but it is of the first importance that the investigation is not delayed. Now, if you'll excuse me. Wait, where did he go? How did he suddenly move all the way over there? Yes, without a doubt, if the culprit were to be hiding in this cabin, it would have to be inside this wardrobe. I shall need to examine this wardrobe thoroughly. I presume you have no objection? I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to decline. Oh, fucking Naruhodo, why are you sneezing? Did those two rather tragic sneezes arise from your good self? Of course they did. As I said, I'm the only person in here. You have a curious knack of talking while sneezing then. Twice, no less. This is going to be a tough one to argue. I was watching you quite intently, sir, and I assure you I saw no signs of a sneeze. Could Ryunosuke have held his nose? As I was saying, I shall need to examine this wardrobe. We've had it now then. The game's up. Nobody hiding in there, it seems. What? What? You seem surprised. No, not at all. Yes, I am. He was in there, for sure. I shut the doors on him myself. More visitors? Who's this now? Excusing me. Oh, Seaman Stroganoff. Sorry for disturbing, but crime has been committed on board ship. Yes, I heard. A terrible theft, apparently. How do you know this? Ah, well, the detective here just informed me, you see. Detective? Yes, I assume you must have asked him to investigate. Detective, could you? He's just gone. Where did he go? I must ask you to cooperate with the investigation into this crime, fully. Uh-oh, he's glaring at the wardrobe already. Ugh. Well done, you found me. What on earth are you doing hiding in my wardrobe? My good man, I was merely assessing the practicality of concealment in such a place. I would say that, at a push, a human could survive for up to 5 minutes in that cramped space. Ryunosuke's been in there for a fortnight. Is he not human? Who are you? Shh! This is the moment of truth. The great detective is about to unveil the sordid details of this wretched crime. You mean to say... Yes, there can be no doubt that the culprit of this terrible theft did indeed conceal himself within this wardrobe. What? But that's impossible. He couldn't have done... Because my best friend was in there the entire time. Or at least, I thought he was. How can you be so sure of this? Elementary, my dear fellow. The criminal left behind the most revealing evidence. How else could you explain? These 3 bones? What the? He's right. Look at those gnawed bones in there. And 3 of them. The criminal has escaped this time, but I will find him and crush him. Could I ask you something, detective? Well, yes, of course. I'm always delighted to answer an inquiring mind. In this terrible theft, what exactly was stolen? Aha! What else? But some steaks on the rib bone. Huh? Did you say steaks on the rib bone? For this evening's dinner, 3 rib steaks were stolen from ship's kitchen only short time ago. There was malfunction with generator and ship was without lights for 10 minutes. Chef who saw criminal said that he ran down the first class passageway. And now I am on his tail. I'm afraid to say, dear fellow, that your man is no longer in this cabin. But how? Through this cabin door, no less. Having devoured his haul in this wardrobe, the culprit discarded the bones and concealed himself behind the cabin door as you came inside. Then, when attention was turned to the wardrobe, he seized his chance to escape through the open door. What? Make haste, my good man. After the culprit. I shall follow presently. Hold it! Something troubles you, sir? I think maybe criminal is not running away at all. What are you suggesting? Now I know where the dog is buried, Mr. Asogi. Me? Duh. When I think you're a culprit, everything is falling in places. The criminal that disappeared in the first-class passageway, the bones in the wardrobe. All clues are pointing their fingers at you. Don't be ridiculous. I would never. Yes, of course. I established at once that you couldn't be the perpetrator of this crime. You did? Hi, Bowie. Why, how are you so sure? My dear fellow, there are but 2 things in this world on which one can rely with total certainty. What 2 things? The first is the word of a great detective, and the second is the tragic rumbling of an empty belly. Ah, not again. When I first entered this cabin, there did arise from this gentleman a belly rumbling so odiously tragic that it confirmed beyond all doubt, as I stumbled trying to pronounce the word odiously, that the man had not eaten a single rib steak in some time, let alone 3. Why do I have to suffer this humiliation when I've done nothing wrong? Curses! I will catch this thief. He cannot have gone far. Indeed, assuming he decided against the post-meal constitutional swim. Well then, if you'll excuse me now, my apologies for upsetting your evening. Detective! One moment, please. Yes? That was a most remarkable deduction. Perhaps you'd be kind enough to tell me your name. Ah, it quite slipped my mind. You've been talking with the one and only Herlock Sholmes. I see. Well, I'm Kazuma Asugi. I'm a student on my way to Great Britain. Pleased to make your acquaintance, Mr. Asugi. Oh, and before I forget. Yes? I feel I should warn you. Live cargo is strictly forbidden on this vessel. So you would do well to conceal the stowaway currently lying low under your bed as carefully as possible. Oh, under the bed? He just knew. I bid you farewell then, Mr. Asugi. He's uncovered our secret. Suppose I should have expected nothing less of a great detective. That was kind of cute. Now then. When did you move under the bed? I thought we had it when we opened the wardrobe. Ah, well, it was thanks to that split-second chance you engineered. That I what? You distracted him for a moment, remember? When you suggested that he investigated the other cabins instead. Oh, yes. He turned to look towards the corridor, didn't he? Well, I couldn't see what he was doing, of course. But I thought to myself, it's now or never. And then next thing I knew, I was under the bed. You really know how to give me a scare, don't you? Anyway. What's all this about the rib steaks, huh? Ugh. Sorry about that. I've just been so hungry. Ever since we left Japan, stuck in that tiny wardrobe. Well, you should know. You've been splitting all your meals with me. You must be starving too, surely. Right on cue. And there was the power cut before, wasn't there? For about 10 minutes. So it was then... I caught a whiff of the most delicious smell. And I thought to myself, it's now or never. The next thing I knew, I had the steak in my hands. This man just can't help getting himself into trouble. Well, alright. You were hungry, but 3 steaks? Thanks to you, 3 crewmen are going to go without going to go without tonight, I imagine. No, it was just the one. What? I only took 1 rib steak from the kitchen. That's all. But I don't understand. Hey, I'm not that selfish. If I'd stolen 3 steaks, I'd at least have tossed one your way. I'm not your pet dog. Well, in that case, who stole the other 2? Ah! Do you think... Could there be a ghost on board? A meat-loving ghost? There could only be one... There could only have been a single... Oh. Thank you for the follow, Manage Me. I will say, guys... Interesting. It's so hard to know. Do you guys know about the bots that are going around, like, following channels? It's like a really big influx of them. They're like getting banned instantly. Because like my follower count doesn't go up when they follow. Like just now, my follower count didn't go up. It's like, and they want you to click their name to go to their page. Well, see, the thing is, on their page, there's a Twitch add-on. You know, the little Twitch add-ons that can go on over the stream while you're streaming, and you can click them, and sometimes they're games, sometimes they're like point systems or whatever. There's one that got made somehow and is being put there, and they're constantly getting it approved. I don't know what they're doing exactly, but essentially, if you visit their page, if you visit their stream, you'll get where is it? They'll essentially, they do something and get your IP, and then they can basically throttle your network while you're streaming. Because I had it happen. I had to reset my IP. So I keep advising people not to click the person's name if they show up or go to their channel. Don't do it, just in case. Because as soon as you go there, the add-on activates and grabs your IP. And then for some reason, they throttle you while you're it's called DDoS or DDoSing, but they're not fully DDoSing you. They're not trying to crash your network. They're just trying to troll your stream. Yeah, DDoSing. Yeah, it's really fucking crazy. And it happened to me because I didn't know about it when I clicked one of the people, and when I went to stream next, I was dropping, over half my frames, and my stream wouldn't fix itself until I reset my IP and used my VPN. So if you do check them out, use a VPN, but if you don't, just don't, if you don't have a VPN, don't click on their name. Just don't go to their page. Like, you can click the little quick card that pops up and shows you when their account was made. That's usually a telltale. If their account was made like this month, then they're probably not real. Most likely. Is there a way to disable Twitch add-ons? There is a trick if you use ad blocker. Oh yeah, there's like a link in my Discord. I might have to send it to you in DM or something. But there was a link. There's like a tag you can put in for where is it? I'll read it off to you real quick. Boop. Where is the tag? Is this it? The tag, the filter rule you want to put in is ext-twitch.tv. So it's just the extension profile for it. So if you turn that ad filter on, it'll stop it, apparently. And that will work. Yeah. Yeah, I've been sharing that with people just because it's pretty frustrating that it's happening. But and some people didn't believe it was happening, but I can confirm that it happened. Like, immediately it started happening to me, and I had not been having troubles before. Some people were saying it's anecdotal, but I'm pretty sure with so many people confirming that it's happening, it's not anecdotal. Too many people are confirming that it was happening. It was a bit too odd. And the same people keep following everybody. So that's obvious that they're bots if that's the case. And they keep making new accounts and stuff. So. And like I said, your follower count won't go up. They either follow, unfollow. I think they follow and unfollow. Because they're not trying to be good to you. They're not trying to help you out. They're trying to. Hey, Ori. Hey, Lito. How are you? They're trying to screw you over. They're trying to mess with you. I remember checking on how to make Twitch add-ons, and they seem pretty powerful. Yeah, so it's weird. They don't have like a screening. Their screening must be really bad because like the fact that you can like just like we're talking about the bots that are following everybody on Twitch. They're following a lot of smaller streamers. And then DDoSing them. And the only way they can DDoS you is if you go to their Twitch page. Though sometimes they'll also chat. They'll be like, "Hi, how are you? Hi." And then they'll just disappear. Yeah. Pretty much it is. That's exactly what it is. And it's basically like a web page that your browser accesses. Which is how they can like get your IP. It's nuts. But you have to wonder, like, they have to be approved by Twitch. The Twitch add-ons have to be approved by Twitch. So like they need to fix their system, in my opinion, or at least make it more foolproof for stuff like that, because that's a bit of a scary proposition for my viewers or me or any other streamer, because some streamers don't know about it. And then they click a name and they go to the page and they're like, and then they get DDoS while they're streaming. I had somebody come in who was watching right when it was happening. They literally came in right when the stream started, and they were saying some pretty sus stuff in my chat, trying to like essentially trolling me. But that was like a few days ago. I've since fixed it, so it's not a big deal. But yep, it sucks. So hopefully Twitch does something about it. I think they will. It'll just take them some time or whatever. There could only have been a single bone in the wardrobe when Ryunosuke moved to hide under the bed. Which means that the other two bones can only have been put there by one very flesh and blood person. Yeah, the detective. What's so funny? We're on a haunted ghost ship. A great detective, or a great mischief maker. Either way, I think I'd like to spend a little more time getting to know that man. The Great Airlock Sholmes. Wrong name, buddy. Oh, silly. Alright. On to the next episode. Bum bum bum. What? Doom 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 doom. The Adventure of the Runaway Room. We're in Britain now, guys. Onward to Great Britain.
Glancing over my records of the late last century, I am faced by the events of a certain bitter winter. A murder in a carriage as it sped through dense London fog in the dead of night. Though the victim and the perpetrator were the only ones inside, there were multiple witnesses to the crime itself. However, none could have imagined at the time that such a seemingly obvious case as this would end in such a horrendous manner. My friend, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, once said of the incident, "I believe that perhaps that case was indeed the prelude. The beginning of a long concerto that impressive Japanese student and I were to play together."
That is not how he sounds. Guarantee you. Also, we heard him in a small cutscene before, and he sounds a lot more spastic.
Is this really just a railway station?
Railway station or not, I've never seen such an enormous building before.
And look at all the steam locomotives. This country is incredible.
I'd watch a Great Ace Attorney anime. I need to watch the actual Ace Attorney anime. I don't know if it's any good.
I feel like I'm dreaming.
So this is the capital of Great Britain.
So, where to?
Oh, hello.
Climb aboard. I'll take you wherever you want to go.
In that case, the Supreme Court in Whitehall, if you wouldn't mind.
My pleasure. I suppose you're visiting students from abroad, eh?
Yes.
Thought so.
They really brushed up on their
I
English.
hope you enjoy your stay.
Remember that first
Welcome to the centre of the world, Great Britain's mighty capital, London.
that first killer? She spoke in English and they didn't understand a word she was saying. Whoa. Is this on a clock tower? They had a month. I know. Fluency in a month. I've heard it's doable if you're under extreme pressure. That's a cool place. Yeah. Apparently it's the Supreme Court building. What an incredible place. It's so imposing. It's almost suffocating. This place is breathtaking. It's like a fortress. There are some stone buildings like this in Japan now. I wonder, of course, but they've only been built in a few short decades since we opened our borders to the outside world. An authentic example like this has quite a different impact, wouldn't you agree? A far cry from the wood and paper most of our buildings are constructed from. It's certainly unfamiliar. But I think there's more to the differences than just the construction materials. What is this place again? This is the Lord Chief Justice's office, Naruhodo-san, in the Supreme Court of Great Britain. The Lord Chief Justice. We had instructions to report here at this time. If circumstances were different, we were supposed to let the Lord Chief Justice know that we had arrived from Japan. But Kazuma can't. No. So instead, we're here in a different capacity. As envoys, to report the news of Kazuma-sama's death. Yes. And having delivered his or her message, an envoy's duty is done. So we'd have to return to Japan. If we want to remain here in Great Britain, I have to take Kazuma's place as the law student selected for the study tour. Yes, which means you need the requisite qualifications as a lawyer, which is what I've been studying for. Here in Great Britain, it is the Lord Chief Justice who appoints lawyers. So that's the second reason why we're here, to have you officially recognized as a lawyer. It's the only way that we'll be able to remain here in London. I hope I'm up to scratch. Ah, good morning. Sorry to keeping you. Oh. I trust you aren't too exhausted after your long voyage from Japan? Seems I'm 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 47 seconds late. My apologies. Oh, no, don't mention it. We're never happier than when we're standing around with nothing much to do. How fortunate. So, introductions. I am Male Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of the British Empire. I feel like a little mouse under an elephant's foot. Come on, Mr. Naruhodo. Don't be a mouse. Oh, It's an honor to meet you, Lord Chief Justice Strongheart. I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Well, Mr. Naruhodo. Welcome to London, the capital of our glorious British Empire. Ah, yes. Thank you. I'm gonna look around this room, if you don't mind. Look at these menacing metal giants facing each other across the room. I believe they're suits of armor. Oh, right. I thought maybe they were like lion dogs we have in Japan guarding the shrine gates. The Shisa. No, they are not Shisa. No, not at all. In fact, in Europe, suits of armor like these are always possessed by evil spirits, you know. And they roam around in the middle of the night. Really? Is there nothing you don't know, Mr. Sato? This book tells me everything I need to know about everything. If you're ever unsure, just ask. Where did she get that incredible tome? Yeah. This must be Lord Chief Justice's desk. I believe it's made of marble. Looks more like an over-the-top tombstone that's toppled over to me. think that's your fanciful imagination at work again, Mr. Naruhodo. Feels like everything that's normally made of wood and paper at home is made of bricks and stone here. I know. That's why this place feels so overbearing, I'm sure. Just look at all the naughty books packed together on these shelves. They go from floor to ceiling. And they're all books you couldn't hope to come by in Japan. It's like a dream. Yes, a very bad dream. They're not all about British law either. They're all books about the judicial system of other Western nations. France, Germany, Spain, Holland. What about Russia? Why do you ask? I was wondering about asking the Lord Chief Justice how you say wardrobe in Russian. What do you think? I think perhaps it's a thought best abandoned. Can I look at the giant gears? Is this some kind of clock? Actually, I think we might be inside some sort of giant clock. But those gears are larger than anything you'd find on a steam locomotive even. It's eerie. Do you think clocks are some sort of hobby of his? The Lord Chief Justice, I mean? Well, boys do enjoy fiddling around with machines, don't they? I'm not sure you could fiddle with cogs that size, and I'm certain you couldn't call him a boy. Still, it's amazing how little noise the cogs make, considering how large they are. There's actually something quite soothing about their precise rhythm. Alright, I think we've... Is there anything else to look at? Nope. Alright. Let's chat it up with the male Strongheart. So, what are your impressions of the capital so far? How do you like London? Oh, well, help. I've been so nervous ever since I got here that I can't remember a single thing about the city. It's simply splendid, isn't it, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh. We had a wonderful view of some of London's streets from the carriage on the way here from the station. Thank you for the lurk, Ori. Everything is so impressive and grand. I must say, I'm almost lost for words. I'm glad to hear you like it. The city boasts tramways, piped water and gas. Even cables supply electricity. We spearheaded every revolutionary new technology in the world. Every visitor to London is astounded. Oh yes, astounded is the word. Thanks for saving me there, Susato-san. And everyone seems so jolly and full of vigor. Yes. There's much excitement about the upcoming great exhibition we will be hosting here in London. Great exhibition? Cultural and technological achievements from around the globe are to be exhibited here in our great city. It will be the greatest spectacle of its kind in history, and will make Paris's World Fair look like a toy shop. Gosh, I can hardly imagine how magnificent it's going to be. Blah, tongue twister. Great Britain's capital city is nothing but magnificent. London is the center of the modern world. Even if you do say so yourself. The sun will never set in our great empire. Perhaps it is fate that in these progressive times we welcome visitors from the land of the rising sun. Lord Chief Justice, I think you were expecting a student of law for the study tour, weren't you? Absolutely. A Mr. Kazuma Asogi, if my memory serves. That's right. The British government has already been telegraphed a full report of the situation. I understand the young man has lost his life aboard the steamship bound for our shores. That's amazing. The news reached him before we even arrived. My country naturally extends its deepest condolences to yours. Oh, thank you. And you honored this appointment specifically to inform me of this news? Yes. We are here in the capacity of envoys from Japan to report the sad news in person. They tell me you Japanese are a people of protocol and courtesy. I see that is true. And it is with some regret that I must inform you that the death of the young lawyer means the study tour arrangement can no longer proceed. If you would just hear us out, Lord Strongheart. What do you have to say, madam? It's about the study tour. Mr. Naruhodo here would like to make a proposal. Would he now? Well, Mr. Naruhodo? This is it, then. The moment of truth. The thing is, Lord Strongheart, I was wondering if perhaps you would consider allowing the study tour to go ahead. Don't misunderstand me. Britain would ideally like to make the tour go ahead. But without a lawyer from your country, there is nothing to be done. Well, in that case, what if there was someone else? Another lawyer from Japan, I mean. Is there something I don't know? Only a single lawyer was invited to Britain from your country. And that was Mr. Asogi. At least that is what I've been led to understand. Well, the thing is, this really isn't going well at all. I just can't seem to find the right words to say to this man. Mr. Naruhodo! I could ruin things here if I'm not careful. What am I gonna say? If there's someone else here from Japan who could be described as a lawyer, it's me. It's me. I can do it. Is that so? I mean, I don't actually have any qualifications as such, but... No qualifications, you say? And yet you still claim to be a lawyer. I've acted as a lawyer in court before. Only once, as it happens. And I had Kazuma to help me, and I was the accused. But glossing over the details... I've been spending every spare moment on the journey here to Great Britain studying. I've learned all about British law and court proceedings while I was on board the SS Burya. The voyage from Japan is some 50 days, I believe. Not what you might call a full education. To become a qualified lawyer here in Britain, not only do you need a university degree in law, you must also complete several years of training. I realize it's far too short of a period of time, but I can't just go back to Japan. Kazuma, Mr. Asagi's journey had only just begun. Coming here on this study tour was all he thought about. I have to carry on and do everything he planned to do. I know it must sound like I have an overly inflated opinion of myself, but I would do anything to prove that I have what it takes. Any test you care to set me. Just one chance, that's all I'm asking for. Please. 31 seconds. Sorry? Your opening statement there, Mr. Naruhodo, was 31 seconds long. Not too brief, not too protracted. A perfectly judged appeal, I would say. Which is a skill that would stand you in good stead as a lawyer. Oh, thanks. So, you're willing to put those words to trial, are you? Well, I'm all for entertainment. Huh? But let me ask you one thing first, sir. Yes? You say you intend to do everything Mr. Asogi planned to do. Are you firmly set on that path? Well, yes. That's my intention. I see. Am I imagining things? Or did his expression just alter a fraction there all of a sudden? Very well. You have your wish. I'll give you a chance. A test to become a specially certified lawyer. Whether you pass or fail is entirely down to you. Really? What's the test, bro? So, what form will this test take exactly? Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, what do you consider the role of a lawyer to be? Well, defending people, of course. Well said. So, let's have you defend someone. Huh? Your timing is perfect, in fact. There's an apt trial about to begin later today. No advocate has been appointed for the defense as of yet, so this will be welcome news. Today? Straight away? If you manage to secure a verdict of not guilty, you'll have passed my test. What could be simpler? How do I get myself into these situations? Well, could I ask, what sort of trial is it, Lord Strongheart? Yes, good question. Ah, I remember. It's a murder trial. A murder? An extremely simple case, I understand. You really can't lose. That's easy to say. But I should mention, just in case, if the defendant is found guilty, he will, of course, be sentenced to capital punishment. Capital punishment? He'll be put to death? Yeah, that is short notice. You're going to trial today, dog. Here in Great Britain, murderers are sent to the gallows without exception. Presumably, you read that much in your short C-based introduction to British law. We can't possibly agree to such a test. We would be toying with a man's life. I am the Lord Chief Justice, and I have decided it's acceptable. But you can't do that, can you? There's no need to overcomplicate this. All you have to do is ensure that you don't lose. So the defendant may live or die depending on how well I perform in court. If I lose, he'll be hanged. Mr. Naruhodo, you've come to me claiming to be a lawyer. If you want me to take you seriously, you need to prove you're willing to do a lawyer's job. And you say you intend to see through the will of your compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would like to understand just how far you're willing to go in order to make that happen. He's testing my resolve. What's the matter? You've fallen silent. I'm sorry, but time is pressing. The trial begins shortly. I need an answer from you now. What's it to be? What do I say? Do I agree to this absurd test? I'll do it. Not like I have a choice. Alright then. If I have to give you a decision now, my answer is I can't do it. I can't get the words out. 15 seconds. Your decision making needs work if you want to be a lawyer. That was too slow. So, it's as I suspected, is it? Sorry? You have noble intentions, but lack the resolve to see them through. The test is cancelled. Thank you for stopping by. Go and acquire your ticket for passage back to the east tomorrow. This conversation is over. Yes, Lord Strongheart. Thank you for offering me a chance. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm sorry, Miss Susato. What could I do? It's alright. I understand. You do? It's not an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances. But resolve has absolutely nothing to do with it. What are you trying to say, madam? I think that Miss Susato means is that no matter how badly I'd like to be recognized as a lawyer and stay here in Great Britain, to risk another man's life by treating his one and only chance at a trial so trivially would be utterly unforgivable, and I feel the exact same way. I'm sure the defendant won't see this trial as a test, as some kind of experiment. A lawyer may fight for his clients in court day after day, but for each one of those clients, the particular day they stand in the dock may be the only chance they have to fight to prove their innocence. No, I was wrong. I'm not qualified to do the job yet. I'm sorry for wasting your precious time, Lord Chief Justice. Wait, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, was there something else? It's approximately 20 minutes by carriage to the Old Bailey from here. If you leave immediately, you should still be there in time. But I just said that I was quite serious in what I told you. The defendant in this case has literally no one to advocate for him. What? At this point, he can't hope to find someone to represent him. The trial will begin without a defense. And if that happens, there's only one possible outcome. He'll receive the most severe sentence the judge can pass down. But that's awful! But that is the truth. Why does it have to be like this? Please don't expect an answer to every question. The cold, hard truth of the matter is that there is only one person with a chance to save this man from a very miserable end. And that is you. I'm really his only hope? So, what do you say now, madam? Me? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? You said it wasn't an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances, and I agree. But in my estimation, it is purely and simply a matter of resolve. Oh. Our time is up here. I have a meeting to attend. I must leave in 2 minutes and 16 seconds. So, venture into our great city and enjoy yourselves. He's gone. The Old Bailey. If we're gonna do this, Mr. Naruhodo, we must leave at once. Alright, here we go. Wait, can I talk to... Yeah, I'm gonna talk to her. Miss Susato, can I just ask you something? Careful. From this position, I can perform a Susato takedown in an instant. I know. Mr. Naruhodo, you heard Lord Strongheart. The trial starts imminently. If I need to throw you, I will. You know, you could just say, I think we should hurry to the courtroom. If you need to ask me anything, it had better wait until we're at the Old Bailey. Alright, alright. To the Old Bailey. Got some bobbies over there. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Oh, thank goodness. We're in time. There's still 15 minutes until the trial begins. I never knew a horse-drawn carriage could go so fast. I thought my teeth were gonna rattle loose. Did you hear what I said to the driver when we climbed aboard? Get us to our destination in 5 minutes, driver, and there's a guinea in it for you. It's one of my favorite lines from Herlock Sholmes' stories, and it worked quite perfectly. I'm not sure why you're so pleased. I thought we were going to die, and we had to pay gold for the privilege. Well, at least we arrived here before the trial started. Yes, I suppose there's that. Anyway, I don't understand it. The court clerk said the defendant should be here, but there's no sign of him at all. So this is the Old Bailey. Even this room for defendants to wait in the, Sorry. Even this room for defendants to wait in is grand. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm feeling tense, that's all. This place gives me the same sense of foreboding that I remember from the Supreme Court in Japan. An oppressive air, almost as if the building itself is going to crush whoever is about to be sentenced. It feels like only yesterday that I was the one about to be crushed. Yes, whoever the man you're to defend is, I imagine he's feeling very alone at this moment. Top of the morning to you, madam. Sir? What are yous doing following me down here? Things are fair desperate, are they? Sorry? Would you look at those expressionless faces? From the east, are yous? We're from Japan, yes. Ah, Japan, is it? Right. Say no more. So, how much do yous need? No, we're just here because... No need to explain, fella. I've been there myself, so I have. No place to go, nothing to eat, barely a penny to your name, and all while in a strange, faraway land. Well, actually, we haven't found a place to stay yet, no. 'Tis grand, 'tis grand. Let me start by giving yous 1,000 guineas. Say nothing now. 1,000 guineas? Please, Miss Susato, you don't have to shout. But 1,000 guineas is enough to build an entire mansion in the most prestigious area of Tokyo. What? 'Tis nothing to me at all. I like to ensure I have sufficient funds to weather a rainy day, you see. I have enough wealth to buy a city of London, the city of London 2 or 3 times over. Could that much rain even fall in one day? Well, even so, we couldn't possibly accept such a large sum of money. Ah, that hit me in the eye! Don't get me wrong, fella. I'm not giving it to you, no strings attached. I'll be wanting you to do something for me. Oh? To be honest, 'tis a little embarrassing. The trial's about to begin, you see. It's for my good self here. I'll be in the dock. So now, what I want you to do is come along with me and stand there beside me. Officially, you'd be my lawyer, but that's just a little detail now. Oh, well, the thing is, don't worry about a thing. All you have to do is stand up there next to me, nothing more. Otherwise, you see, the trial's going to start without me having any kind of representation at all. So it was true. The Lord Chief Justice wasn't just making it all up. I'm terribly sorry to have to ask, but does that mean you're the defendant in this trial? Bluster and blazes. Do yous not know who I am? Me? One of London's biggest names? No, sorry. We've only just arrived in the city, you see. I see. I suppose it isn't altogether impossible. Well, just next to Hyde Park, there is, centre of London, another beautiful park. Sorry, a park? What? It is called McGilded Park, full of blossoming flowers and in the spring, and singing birds and whatnot. I donated to the city, so I did. An entire park in central London? A city of smiles. That's the vision for London. There's nothing Magnus McGilded wouldn't do for the city. And its queer old people. That's amazing. I mean, really extraordinary. Ah, but now they've got the gall to say I'm a good-for-nothing criminal. Me, Magnus McGilded. And what is the matter with the London police, I ask you? Alright, don't pass out. Mr. Naruhodo, perhaps now would be a good time to introduce ourselves while the gentleman catches his breath. Good idea. Mr. McGilded, the thing is, we're actually here in London to study British law. We're law students, on a study tour from Japan, you see. So, if you don't have a lawyer for the trial yet, and you'd be happy to put yourself in our hands, we'll do our best. What was I after saying, you daft Egypt? I've given you 1,000 guineas to stand up there next to me, haven't I? Well, yes, but I wasn't really offering to just stand up there next to you. Oh, I think I see where this is going here. Sorry? I know what you're thinking. This chancer of a fella seems to have more money than the Queen. But if that's true, what the blazes can't be hire the finest lawyer in all of England? Because he did it. That's the only explanation. Well, I have no idea what the fuck he just said. Let's see. But if that's true, why in the blazes can't he hire the finest lawyer in all of England? Oh, okay. I'm just gonna say exactly. Yes, exactly. What now? Well, like you said, if you have all that money, but you don't have anyone to represent you in court, there's no other logical conclusion than that you're guilty of all charges. Well, you call a spade in the East, so you do? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean any offense. I still can't express myself very well in English, you see. I'm never sure what's acceptable to say and what isn't, so... Is that so? Because you sounded fluent enough when you were telling me that, what a blackguard I must be. I'm terribly sorry. I can't say I blame you for thinking it, fella. It is a little strange, to be honest. Why don't you have a lawyer, I mean? That would be the fault of the Reaper. Sorry? I just did an Australian accent. Did he just say Reaper? I, the Grim Reaper of the Old Bailey, Lord Barrack von Zeeks. He's the prosecutor. The prosecutor is the Grim Reaper? When Von Zeeks stands for the prosecution, they call the accused the sacrificial lambs. To this day, in every single trial in what he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. What? So it's reached the desperate situation where there's no one willing to stand in defense against the fella at all. You could say he's a living legend of the Old Bailey. Goodness. Lord Baron Van Zeeks. He must be an exceptionally talented prosecutor then. Talented isn't the word you're looking for, madam. It's cursed. Cursed? What on earth? The defendant is summoned, and his counsel. Please make your way to the courtroom. The trial is about to begin. His counsel? That would be me. Oh, 'tis time. Well then, fella, don't let me down. But I don't know anything about the case. You haven't told me what happened. Until you showed your face, here. I'd made up my mind, so I had. Sorry? I decided to have to defend myself in there. How would that have worked? But then you made an appearance, a student of law, wouldn't you know? 'Tis no accident, I assure you of that. 'Tis fate. So don't get cold feet now, please. I literally know nothing about the case, or about this man who stands accused. In fact, the only thing I do know is that I can't just turn my back on him. Mr. Naruhodo, the man has no one. He'll have to stand alone in that courtroom, armed with nothing to defend himself. Yes, something that Kazuma would never have allowed to happen. Counsel for the defense, what are you doing? If you're late for the start of the trial, you will lose your right to stand. I'll be right there. It's happening then. My first trial in a British court. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because I have no idea how I'm going to manage this. Oh boy. Well, that's creepy. Giant. So this is the highest court in Great Britain, the Old Bailey. The centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different to the Supreme Court in Japan. It feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Whatever the country, determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes, what? Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know, but I just can't help it. Oh boy. He's less intimidating of a judge than the Japanese judge. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilded. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared. That must be the Reaper of the Bailey. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch his next poor victim to the underworld. Counsel for the defense, you appear to be Easton. Do you speak English? Huh? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready, and I couldn't be further from ready if I tried. Those eyes, they please me. Nipponese. I feel like I shouldn't say Nipponese. They shroud your fear, no doubt, your doubt, your trepidation. They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb. A cold shiver just ran down my spine all the way to the tips of my toes. Okay, so he's racist too, gotcha. Now, Mr. McGilded. Yes, my lord? You stand accused of murder, a capital offense. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner? As I've always said, my lord, 'tis a grand thing to give opportunities to the young. Even if this fella is a student from some little island off in the Far East. Oh my god, I think I say a gif of that dude throwing his wine glass at the lamp behind him. Trying to set the place on fire, huh? Yeah, this guy's apparently full of memes, Baron Von Zeeks. The prosecutors usually are in Ace Attorney games. Is it not the British way to ignore the dangers to yourself and give those less fortunate a fair chance. I'd like to think that the acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud. Listen to Mr. McGilded. What a fine gentleman London has in him. Do you hear that he donated £5,000 to the government the other day? Mother, please, may we go play in Miss McGilded Park? It seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded. That's definitely welcome news, and he certainly has a way with words. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him. Eloquently put, Mr. McGilded, and most laudable sentiments. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that you 6 members of the public have selected for your impartiality. Are you ready to proceed? We have jurors. Okay, here we go. This is completely different from usual Phoenix Wright stuff, when you never have jurors in the other games. Yes, my lord. If the task is to send rotters to the gallows, where they belong, I'm more than ready. At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree. Ha! Any criminals here will soon be wishing they never set eyes on me. She's just like the record keeper. I feel a chill. Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. Must finish these mitts for my grandson. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, these people are... The jury, yes. That's something we don't have in Japan yet. They never do get it, by the way. That's right. I've only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinions of these 6 jurors. The judge passes sentence according to the law, but the jurors determine the guilt based on a common sense. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view. But how exactly do the jurors give their verdict? That I don't know, but I'm sure it will become clear as the trial progresses. Yes. Prosecutor Van Zieks. My lord. It's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you'd renounced your fame. I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord. Infamy rather than fame, I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity. So, what brings you back? Is there some change of circumstance of which the court should be aware? I leave that to your imagination, my lord. So the Reaper has been out of action for 5 years. Why did he have to choose today of all days to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruhodo. As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. Summary of the case, if you please. Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity. We must be the only ones in here who aren't aware. The incident took place in the late evening. 3 days passed. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks, known in the community as Thrice-Fired Mason. Sorry, thrice? He was a very accomplished craftsman. These bricks he fired were said almost indestructible. Damn! To be honest, they'd never shown somebody just like fully iced. Just like dead with the dagger in their stomach. That's like new. Never shown that before. Usually they show somebody like slumped over, but they've never showed somebody with a literal dagger in their gut. That's pretty, I mean, it's not that bad, but it's still pretty dark for a Phoenix Wright game. The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service of the streets of London at the time. A dagger that had been thrust into the victim's abdomen is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Here is the autopsy report from the investigating medical officer in Scotland Yard. Thank you, Counsel. I shall accept that and photograph as evidence. Cool. And one further item of evidence. The prosecution wishes to submit these as well. And these are... Good Lord! Is that blood, Counsel? Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gore-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested. What? Mr. McGilded's gloves had blood on them? Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well. How did I get into this? I'm backed into a corner before I've even started. Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time. Only 2? Obviously, one of those passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other was the accused, Magnus McGilded. Well, rather damning circumstances to say the least. Defendant, what say you? Well, of course. I have no recollection of such a thing. Mr. McGilded! To be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening. But whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness, and I always succumb to it. Are you claiming to have been asleep? 'Tis the motion of the carriage, my lord, littling, so it is. And when I was opening my when I opened my eyes again, 'twas a desperate sight before me. The body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in my life. Now I ask yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves, now, was I? I reached out to give a man a hand. So the blood got onto the gloves then, after the man had been killed. Unfortunately, that statement to the drivers is only the beginning. What? That's not all of it. There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed. When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage. And there were witnesses to the crime. This is not just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused. Thank you, counsel. The circumstances of this crime have been made quite clear. I think we will hear testimony from these witnesses first of all. Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in at once. Damn, that's a lot of witnesses. Witnesses, your names and occupations. My name is... well, everyone calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in East End. Bruce Fairplay. I'm a banker in the city. My name's First. Lady First. I make hats for gents. Lady first? Like ladies first? Let's begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, at a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, all of you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witness to the aforementioned incident. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Quite right. Yes, sir. That's right, sir. Very well, then. Let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw. Hey, Goo. Welcome to the stream. It was the last of the bus of the evening, so I had a few customers. I remember it well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other in the inside. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then, out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. That's right. He stabbed him. I screamed, I did. I couldn't help it. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus. And then I saw it too. Unambiguous testimony, I must say. Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes. I'd like to ask a question, if I may. Yes, counsel? Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Why not? Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it? As has been clearly stated from the outset, yes. Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of the moving carriage. How quaint. I'd read that civilization in the Eastern Island nations was a good century behind our own. But you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant about our omnibuses? Also, what? The dude didn't notice the others seeing the killing? I know, right? Huh? Tell me, my Nipponese friend, have you even traveled in an omnibus? Well, no. We, only arrived in London this morning. No matter. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves the actual scene of the crime, that is. What do you mean? The actual scene? How? A carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Presumably you understand that much. Yes? The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today, in this very building. Here? What? The entire carriage? Bailiff! Bring forth the stricken omnibus! Oh, okay, we're just gonna wheel it into the courtroom. Gotcha. Not quite back then, I don't think. I mean, it is a double-decker bus, but it's like a really old-school one. So that's an omnibus. The omnibus. Can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. Four passengers seated inside the enclosed cabin, and another 4 on the rooftop deck. Yes, rooftop deck above. Every Londoner knows that the best views of the city's architecture and sights are to be had from atop of an omnibus. And I should point out to our foreign guests that there is a skylight in the roof allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. Ah, a skylight. Oh! The penny drops at last, I see. These two gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats on the omnibus when the murder took place, and that is how they came to witness the grim incident. Through the skylight. That makes perfect sense. Well, counsel, this is a first. In all my years behind the bench, I've never experienced the crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom. There are a number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish. So, the entire omnibus is now evidence. That's funny. Very well. I see no reason why not. This omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence. I can't believe it. The entire crime scene entered as evidence. Yes, Great Britain is simply extraordinary. I wish I could help myself a lot. I could help myself a lot by giving that omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's here. Let us continue with our proceedings, then. Your cross-examination, counsel. Pray, don't expect this Nipponese stray to understand the intricacies of a British court's cross-examination rights. All right. My first cross-examination in a British court. Let's do this. Focus. Ryunosuke. Focus. I'm gonna check out this crime scene real quick. Open the door and let me in. Well, let's open the door and go inside, shall we? Scene of a murder. It's horrible. Ah, it's a poster for the great exhibition that's due to start 6 months from now. There's a lot of focus being drawn to the Crystal Tower, the centerpiece of the whole exposition. Oh, the Crystal Tower. It's under construction already, I believe. People all over London must be fizzing with excitement at the prospect of such a grand event. The seat has a handle, it seems. This looks like all sorts of equipment that might be needed to keep the omnibus running. Feeding tubs, tools to repair wheels, blankets, horseshoeing tools. So it's a storage compartment for the coachman to keep his things, it seems. There doesn't seem to be a space for passengers to stow their luggage, that's for sure. Well, I don't imagine it would be very convenient for that purpose anyway. Ah, that's a poster for the great exhibition that's due to start 6 months from now. There's a lot of focus being... Oh, okay, it's the same poster. What? One looked like rules. This looks like rules. Interesting. Okay. Let's look at the skylight. It's quite a large skylight, isn't it? Yes, it's quite large enough to afford a good view into the cabin from the roof deck. And there doesn't appear to be a handle or a catch of any description, so I suppose it can't be opened from inside the cabin at least. Alright, let's look at the blood spot. That's blood that's soaked into the seat. The victim's, obviously. Yes, that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Would you really stab somebody in full view of the other passenger like that, I wonder? Well, it was after dark, and there was a lamp on in here, so perhaps the culprit couldn't see anything outside through the skylight. Whichever way you look at it, it does seem like it was a planned attack. Alright, let's leave. Have you seen enough? Let's step back outside then. I know, right? Phoenix Wright Omnibus. Pfft. Nice reference, bro. So this is the roof deck of the omnibus. Oh, you must have a wonderful view of London streets from up here. So people sit all the way up here on bitter winter nights with the cold air rushing past them, and they have to pay money to do so? Brr, can't imagine how cold it must feel. That just made me think of something horrible. Can you imagine being dragged around the city in the freezing cold as punishment? Perhaps that is the real price you pay to stay out late. Psst. Is that everything? I think that's everything. Wait, no. This tells us something. Oh no, it's just the same thing. Okay, I think we've seen everything we can see about this. Cool. This is definitely blood, isn't it? Not the most pleasant sight to be confronted with on our first day in London. Well, nothing will come of grumbling now. No. By the way, is Mr. McGilded right-handed? Yes, I believe so. He was toying with a coin in his right hand a little earlier. Ha. Pity. If only he'd been left-handed. I think the blood on either glove would be fairly incriminating, really. Interesting. Okay. Stuff to keep in mind. Let's do this.
Hold it!
Yes, I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it? Oh yes, sir. That's right, sir. Yes. Ever so cold it was, sir. Freezing, in fact. And you had 4 passengers on board at the time, is that correct? Yes, that's right, sir. Not all traveling in the same parts of the bus, of course, though. No. And there were no other passengers when the incident took place. No one alighted, for example. You're quite right with that, sir. No other passengers like that. No, none. So nobody fled the scene of the crime then. I have to say, the boss insists on it running, he does. Every evening. That last bus of the day. But I do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Yes. Sorry to say. What do you mean by that? Well, what with it being so cold and everything, only making 20 pence on the run, you see. Yes, I spent much of that at the pub on the way. Oh, I spent much of that on the pub on the way home. Just trying to warm up again. I wonder if there are any Ace Attorney games where the defendant is actually guilty. There is. there's a Ace Attorney game where you defend a serial killer on accident, and Phoenix feels he like gives up for a while. He gives up on being an attorney because he feels like shit because he got a serial killer off. It's like one of the only games where it happens, but there's like a whole story turn. Yeah, it's pretty insane. And the serial killer like laughs at him and treats him like shit, of course, because, you know, he lies to Phoenix. Because Phoenix is a good guy, right? He doesn't want to get an actual serial killer off. No defense attorney wants to get an actual murderer off, you know what I mean? I think they have to, they usually want to get people who are innocent off or whatever. I know that most defense attorneys, you know, usually try to get people lighter sentencing and things like that, try to make things easier on them, but yeah. It was like a big plot twist to find out that the guy you actually defended was actually a horrible person.
Hold it!
And you saw them through the skylight in the roof of the carriage. That's right. When you sit up on the top deck, the window's right there at your feet. There was a lamp inside, so I had a pretty good view. The two of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. But there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded. How could you be so sure? Well, how can I put it politely? McGilded is a gentleman of rather small stature. I couldn't have mistaken him for anyone else. Let's not forget that when the vehicle came to a halt, they were the only people inside the enclosed cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded. There's no room for doubt there. I really wish there was. Then out of the blue, the accused just... Oh shit, actually, let's go over.
Hold it!
You actually saw the exact moment it happened. This is usually where we catch somebody. Didn't I testify to that? Or our fair dinkum, hard-working city bankers not considered trustworthy these days. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. This is no good. I've really got his backup. Perhaps you could just tell us what you saw in a little more detail, if that's... My lord! Juror number 3? What's the meaning of this? My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up. Made up about what? I don't like the stinking rich. Never have. They're always up to something or other that they shouldn't be. Every one of them. And that little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, he can't fool me. What? There's no point in wasting time listening to any more of this. That's my opinion on the matter anyway. That is precisely what I was about to say. As the foreman of the jury, it is my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors. Uh-oh. What the... What is happening here? Let me see. Ah, yes! It seems that's how members of the jury give their verdicts. With fire? Apparently, yes. White for innocent and black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case, one by one, they each cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice, as just a moment ago. So these guys are already like he's guilty. Interesting. So if those enormous scales fall completely to the black side, does that mean... Let's do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen. Now I'm even more worried than I was before. Well, this is going to be insane. Does that mean I can't just cross-examine willy-nilly? Very well. The court acknowledges the change in the jury's stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination. This is a nightmare. That's right. Okay, let's see. He stabbed him, you say? And you were sitting up on the roof deck, were you? Yes, that's right, sir. I was up on the roof seats. I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to the fellow that was stabbed. I've been thinking about a new hat design, you see. So I was just gazing absent-mindedly around. But then I happened to look down through the skylight. It was just sticking right from his belly. That huge great knife. Huh. A grim sight indeed. That didn't help me at all. The jury looked like they're even more convinced my client did it than they were before. That appears to have made everyone even more dubious than Mr. McGilded is telling the truth. If only we had some evidence to counter their suspicions. Mr. First. Oh, yes. Yes, sir. Is this the knife you saw? Oh, good grief. Yes, that's it. The very one, sir. Is that? Yes, counsel. This is the blade that was driven into the victim's belly like a stake through the heart. That is a blade of considerable size, counsel. It is. And furthermore, the scabbard is emblazoned prominently with a certain initial. The letter M, which seems oddly familiar. Please, no. M for Magnus, perhaps? Or McGilded, possibly? Take your pick. It seems this particular big name in London made a magnificent mistake.
Objection!
But there are M's everywhere. Yes. Like in Mason.
Objection!
This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. No. This weapon of murder almost certainly belongs to the accused. Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, counsel. My lord, if you'll forgive me the interruption. Juror number 2, go on. Mr. McGilded is a pillar of society and a gentleman, and a gentleman's word should be sacrosanct. However, those of us in service know we must accept hard truths. Wait, what are you about to do? Dispose of the rubbish. Fuck. Not good. No. I don't wish to cause offense, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and grime. I have painstakingly typed every word uttered here today, and cross-referenced all the facts. As such, I am now in position to draw the only logical conclusion. Fuck. What are we supposed to do? Not again. That's 4 out of 6 jury members who've proposed a guilty verdict. There are only 2 left. We've had it. Every time I press the witnesses for more information, it just make the situation worse. Nevertheless, what we need more than anything at this moment is more information. We're still very much in the dark. I suppose I'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may well fly. I know, right? We mustn't give up hope that we'll uncover something that will give us a way to fight back. But all right, I'll keep trying. I can't give up. I just need to keep calm and listen to the witnesses' statements again. Let's see. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus, and then I saw it. Alright, so when it happened, the only two people in the enclosed cabin area were the victim and the defendant. And, so help me, 3 whole people witnessed the man I'm trying to defend do the deed. I don't like to be pessimistic, but we do seem to be in a rather difficult situation here. Ugh. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to think here? Is Mr. McGilded really innocent? Or could it be... But before we jump to conclusions, we must first our first task should be to gather information. We need to understand the case much better than we do at the moment. Yes, you're absolutely right. Let's listen to those witness statements again, a little more carefully this time. Let's see. It was the last bus of the evening, so I had a few customers. I remember it well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. The accused man reached over and plunged the knife right into his guts.
Hold it!
What exactly did you see? Oh, well, sir, that would be the passenger, sir. Yes, he collapsed on the floor, he was. And by the passenger, obviously you are referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. And the other passenger had the knife in his hand, like this. By the other passenger, obviously you are referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilded. And then the passenger plunged it down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. What? That didn't make sense. My lord, I wish to speak. Yes, juror number 5? Do I take it that you, too, as the master of the Lord of the London Guild of Coachmen, the idea of a murder being committed in one of the city's carriages is utterly abhorrent to me. It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough now. The horse has bolted, as they say. No, please, just key up now, Silverblaze. The finish is in sight. Fuck. Beppo is a long-standing member of the guild, and I trust what the man says. Oh, thank you, sir. You're too kind, sir. This is too unkind, sir. Which now means that 5 jurors agree to condemn this man. Madam Juror number 6. Yes, dear? What can I do for you? You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand? Oh yes, I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know. Then pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning? Well, dear, the thing is, I'm a creature of habit, me. I always go to the park at around this time of day, and sit on a nice bench and get on with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live. McGilded Park, it's called. The gentleman donated it to the city, you know, to put a smile on Londoners' faces, he said. I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have it in him to take another man's life. He is always doing wonderful things for the city. That's right, a man like that wouldn't stab someone, surely. Mother, may we go to McGilded Public Library later and borrow some more books? How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know? What kind of man Magnus McGilded really is? Oh shit. We're getting that Western-style lawyer fight where we Completely destroy the reputation of the defendant. That's usually the goal of the prosecution. Completely obliterate any credibility and reputation they may have, which is really fucked up. It's one of, like, Japan may not have a juror system, but our law system relies on manipulation, which is really fucked. I mean, both do, but it's weird. What kind of man is he? The philanthropist, Magnus McGilded, has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Your client is a Shylock, sir, and one with the very darkest of souls. What? Stone the Crows. McGilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest to his victims, so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He is a vulture that preys on the weak. I've never heard any mention of that before. Your faculties haven't deserted you, I'm sure, madam. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service? You're not saying that the victim, a poor brickmaker, had nothing to do, or had nothing to his name, save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused, Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts. Good gracious. The brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house. He had nothing. He had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, this pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from him: his life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender, Magnus McGilded. I don't believe it. If I might add something briefly, Miss Susato? You claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded, but where is the evidence to support your claim? Man, don't pour yourself a glass of wine. You... Pray, forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice in a court of law. Aha! There it is. Lord Van Zeek's hallowed chalice! How can this be considered acceptable? But I find myself in unexpectedly good humor. I had heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it myself. As a judicial assistant to the defense, I am simply doing my job. What a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded inside. Oh. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time. A marvelous toast, Counsel. I will gladly accept this new evidence. Oh my god, they made Britain hilariously ridiculous. Ah yes, 20 guineas. The victim owned a considerable sum, and the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense. Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. Regrettably, madam. That is the modus operandi of the accused. And it's such a pretty little park too. What a scoundrel. Still, maybe it's all for the best. Ah, wait a minute. Let's think about this a little bit more before... I don't stand for nonsense. Fuck. That was it. The last juror's decision. What happens now, Susato? According to this encyclopedia of British law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended, and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here. The final verdict. It's over then. Oh. There's a footnote, though. A footnote? However, the defense... All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in this case. Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision. According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial. I know, we'll find out in a sec, I'm sure. By delivering my final verdict, I trust there are no objections. Miss Susato, just tell me one thing. Oh? Yes? You were in the middle of saying something before. The footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense... What did it say next? Oh yes, of course. One moment. When all members of the jury have concluded the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. A summation examination?
Objection!
A summation examination. From which century has that tome there been resurrected? Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't even give such an antiquated procedure a mention. It's a relic, long forgotten, and certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck. Oh. What even is it, Miss Susato? This so-called summation examination. Oh, one moment and I'll read about it. You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails. Typical Nipponese. This guy's fucking racist. Alright, Mr. Naruhodo, I think I understand. It seems that under this procedure, we wouldn't be able to appeal to the members of the jury. Or we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what exactly? Appeal to them to change their leaning and reverse their decisions. And it says here that, if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed. Make them reverse their decisions? Yes. In times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. But the procedure became something of a formality with no practical benefit, really, so it rather fell out of use. I wonder why. Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in this day and age. Still, I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Let's do this. A summation examination. Our last possible option. Do we assert our right to carry it out or admit defeat? Of course we assert our right. The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord. My lord. London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried.
Objection!
But if it's our right, it's our right. I believe it could prove vital in this trial. The defense's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. This is madness. Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready?
Well, I'm not, There was no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so...
All members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision.
What grounds?
You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believe that the defendant to be guilty.
Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot.
This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before. I don't really hold with all this justifying talk, lark. This seems to have thrown the jurors off. Seems none of them have experienced this before. Alright then, the summation examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, is it? Well, just maybe, it might be the opportunity we've been looking for, to turn this trial around. So be it then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant Magnus McGilded guilty of this most serious crime. Interesting.
There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him.
I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. He stuck the chap next to him, just like this. Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen. I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair's fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. The scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor. It beggars belief. Interesting. I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, though, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I have to throw everything I can at them and use some very persuasive language. Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. According to my book, that's not quite how it works. Oh? I thought I was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then, they've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Their pleas will sound like excuses, or your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. Then what on earth am I supposed to do? Oh dear, I'm just citing what I've read about British law, Mr. Naruhodo. Right. I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work then? Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a united front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can, We then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other. I see. So it's contradictions in what 2 or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way, then, this is similar to a regular cross-examination. Oh, yes, I suppose you're right. Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. All right. I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off. Can we stop proceedings, counsel? I would ask you to take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal. Yes, my lord. Certainly, the testimonies we've heard suggest the victim and Mr. McGilded were alone inside the carriage. Precisely my point. But, could there be some other explanation? Something we haven't considered yet? Such as? Well, perhaps that's something we could all work out together now. Now listen here. Maybe you don't know how things work around here because you're from foreign climes. But we're here to form our opinions as individuals, and I have. Oh dear. Doesn't appear to be in the mood to consider an alternative point of view, does he? No. We're gonna have to pit the jurors against one another, like Susato-san said. Finding contradictions in these 6 people's assertions is the only way I'm going to succeed. Okay, so, let's see. I need to read them all. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares tallying 20 pence. He stuck the chap next to him like this. Brazen. I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far and drawn a logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. Okay. How many were on board? There were passengers both inside the carriage and on the roof. So we had the driver, the banker, the hat maker, McGilded, and the brickmaker. Let me check out this knife real quick. That part is the sheath, isn't it? Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, sorry. Yes, I just don't really like blades. Oh. Don't seem like the words of a man with a large katana slung from his waist. That's not a blade. That's Kazuma's soul. Anyway, there's no sense in delaying it. Let's see what the blade looks like. Ugh. That looks a lot like blood. It surely is blood. The victim's. Ugh. An Englishman's blood looks a lot like a Japanese man's blood. Did you think it wouldn't? Sorry. It's just that we've only just arrived here in Great Britain. I'm finding it a little hard to adjust. Yes, I do understand. There's the M. An ornate letter M. Undeniably Mr. Magnus McGilded's initial. And it's beautifully gilded, too. It must be very valuable, I would think. What is it? Look at this M. If you turn it upside down, it becomes a W. This could change everything. A W. Yes, this is one of those, turnabout cases. I'm sure of it. I'm afraid I don't know it all. But what I am sure of is that this is an M. Oh. Well, that idea was quickly quashed. Okay, interesting. Alrighty. Well, we've looked at the knife. So there were 4 people, 4 actual passengers. Yeah, 3... I think the 2 were on top, because... Well, yeah, there were 3 on top. because there was the driver, then the hat maker, and the banker. They were on top. And then inside the carriage was McGilded himself, our defendant, and the victim. So we know that there were 4 people that paid, not the driver. The driver didn't pay. So 4 people. So what is 4 times 4? 16? That's not 20 pence. Let's press her on that. But does this ability to recall his takings that night really tell us how trustworthy the man is? I manage all his lordship's cash affairs, so I'm very particular when it comes to accounts. I see. A single penny can mean the difference between life and death, after all, can't it? That's a saying in your country. My point is, a man who minds his figures is a man who you can trust. Those of us in service would swear to that, sir. Does that bench really need any more polishing? So if the good driver says that he saw Mr. McGilded in the act, I don't doubt him. The only task left to do today is disposing of the rubbish. Ah, now wait a minute. One of the other jurors mentioned something about money, I think. Now would be a very good time to listen carefully to the other jurors' statements again, Mr. Naruhodo. If you notice an inconsistency in what 2 different jurors are saying, I should expose it by pitting them against each other. Yes, let's see if I can do just that. We gon' do that. What's up, buddy? Alright, this is interesting.
Objection!
Those 2 statements clearly contradict each other. They do? Explain yourself, counsel. Me? Oh dear, what have I said? I swear on Silver Blazer's mane and name, I haven't the first idea what you're talking about. According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus on the night in question, and according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares. Quite right. I have those precise details typed neatly here in front of me. And juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence. That it is. A fair and convenient single price. Just the way London's carriages should be operated. I like how his mustache looks like a horseshoe. Well, that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts. Why, man? Why? 4 passengers paying 4 pence each. If you do the multiplication, it would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact. Or precisely 1 person's fare. 1 person's fare? Yes! In other words, on the omnibus that night, it's distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about. Interesting. Oh snap, y'all. This can't be right. The coachmen of the guild are good, honest men. One and all, trustworthiness is our watchword. The figures your coachman claims most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy. I beg your pardon? Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news would surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he left nefarious characters ride his omnibus. Alright then, how do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end, Well, just reverse your guilty verdict, my dude. Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire into the innocent side of the set of scales. Now hold your horses there, coachman. We were all in agreement. Why do you have to go it? Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo. Got him. We got one.
Ah, this is all very irritating.
Begging your pardon, sir. I'm going to have to do the same. Oh, we got two! We got two of them! Turning this trial around, guys.
For the love of Mike. Not you as well?
A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters.
Oh, really?
I, for one, think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. You did it. If we can manage to change 2 more jurors' minds, we can force the trial to continue. 2 more. Actually, there is something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions. And that's where you must strike next. So I need to pit 2 more jurors against each other and show there's another contradiction in their assertions. Exactly. You can do it. Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination. Changing my leaning to innocent, I should like to hear what the slipshod bookkeeper has to say for himself. Oh, whoops. So we just need to find 2 jurors with contradictory statements. Which is much easier said than done. Is that perhaps what you were just thinking? How did you know? Well, I took the liberty of doing some research in case you happen to find yourself in such a situation. Shall I read you what I found out? It's a little long, I'm afraid. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me what you got. Very well. Listen to this. Oh, it's just a tutorial. All right. Stabbing the poor man on the floor.
Objection!
I think it's these 2. These 2 statements are completely contradictory. What? Explain yourself, counsel. Post haste. Oh, dearie me, I was only knitting a jumper for my other half. What is all this claptrap? What does the contradictory even mean, I ask you? We've heard from more than one witness that they allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3. What? Can't you see I'm busy here? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it? Ha! Want to test me, do you? It was like this. Stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. Just like the prim banker said. Yes, that was what Mr. Fairplay's testimony. Quite true. Now then, juror number 6. Oh, is that me? Is it? What can I do for you, young man? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam? Oh, well, dear. As far as I understand it, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so. Now don't move. Take a look at these 2 jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. And he stabbed the poor man after he collapsed on the floor. Well, I never. They're stabbing in totally different directions. What? Bless my stitches. What a muddle. What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth. Oh! But why? Why the dickens would they lie? Also, why do you have a knife, dog? I don't know that yet. But what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point... Okay, so the old lady's wrong because he was sitting up. I know, right? Is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen? All in a good conscience. Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. I can't abide people telling lies. The scales. I don't believe it. That's 3. I don't think we're getting Mr. Knifey Stabby Knife. Wait! Now hear this, my fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him, in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on us all. Bruh. If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through all this? Answer me this, Doc Jinx. Huh? Me? What exactly is the problem? What of it if 2 witnesses have slightly different recollections of events? What of it? Let's say the Shylock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus. And this young dandy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor and the Shylock stabbed him again. And this old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that, hmm? Who are you calling a dandy, sir? Why, I should take this knife to you. Who are you calling old? Why, I should take this needle to you. They're ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the 2 witnesses see 2 different moments of the crimes? Of the crime? I don't know. Let me check the coroner's report. Stabbed once in the abdomen with a knife whilst journeying in the omnibus. Yeah, no, it didn't happen. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman. What is it, you Doc Jinx? Come on, out with it. What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question. What? What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realize that I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? That's what we want to see. I say the 2 witnesses saw 2 different moments of the same crime. If you say that's out of the question, show me proof. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish. What? I'll give you the proof.
Take that!
This, the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen. Only once. Only once? It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely 1 time. Which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen 2 different times. Alright. I concede defeat. Boom. We did it. Wait. That means 4 jurors are now leaning to not guilty. We've done it, Mr. Naruhodo. We've won. Well, sort of. What are you playing at, you dandy fool? Shut your trap, sir. No one deceives me.
But we had a consensus. I said, shut your trap. I know a liar when I see one. And if the chap ever dares to cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and shave every last hair off his head.
Why do I have a feeling... Please tell me he's a barber. Yeah, no kidding. Get him. Yeah, we getting him. Well, in a quite remarkable turn of events, the defendant's summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. The jurors now stand at 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jury for me to adjudicate, and the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places and call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. So, Lord Van Zieks, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please. Dude, chill out. Bruh, you just poured that glass of wine only to destroy it? Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hallowed chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zieks? It's cold in here. Is it cold in here, or is it just me? That's the one.
As your antiquated tone no doubt says, the prosecution may speak during a summation examination. So I honored a deathly silence and listened to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There is nothing hard to prove as a self-evident truth, it would seem. No, and why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Bring forth the witnesses once more.
Alright, buddies, what's up?
Witnesses, I trust you heard the summation examination we have just had to endure.
Oh, yes, sir. That I did, sir.
Of course I heard it. Oh, yes, sir. I heard it.
You, sir, on the end, the coachman. I believe it's Beppo.
Yes, sir.
My lord, sir? If it transpires that in your previous testimony you were attempting to veil the presence of a 5th passenger on your omnibus, you will be found guilty of perjury. You are advised to bear that in mind, sir.
Oh mio Dio.
Now then, witnesses, I hereby call on you to testify before the court again. You will explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination. That's the one. That's the animation.
I only carried 4 passengers that night. I swear it. But
well, I for one was told I have to pay 5 pence for the bus.
He fiddled us on the fare, he did. And then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much.
I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands.
Oh, yes. Yes, he stabbed him, he did. I think so, yes.
Counsel, make sense of this for me, please.
The phantom 5th passenger conjured into existence by my learned Eastern friend never existed. The confusion has arisen from the coachman's sly little cousinage. Beppo, explain yourself. I'm terribly sorry, Guildmaster. The Guild's fare is 4 pence across the board. You know that. Am I to understand that you've been overcharging our passengers by a penny a fare? It's so cold, and the last run of the day is always half empty. You have been dishonest, coachman. I'm sorry. You're a disgrace, Beppo. A disgrace! And your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild. If I may, sir. I had to pay 10 pence on the bus just last week. What? 4 passengers at 5 pence each is, yes, 20 pence. I've done the arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the result come out differently. No, that figures. Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, if you please. We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intending to continue the parlor games. Absolutely. Bum, bum, bum.
Hold it!
Yo. So, there were only 4 passengers on your carriage, but you didn't charge them the standard 4 pence fare. Is that right?
Excuse me!
If I may, Mr. Fairplay, what are you fossicking for now? That last statement appears to have given you pause for thought. Not really. By the way, you always seem to be looking to the side one way or another. Do you have some affliction? Not really. He's not really willing to say anything, it seems. It's none of your business anyhow. Interesting. Alright, let's press him again. So there were only 4 passengers on board your carriage, is that right? It's impossible to make the last run of the day pay. I was so cold. It was all I could do to stop myself from passing out. I'm getting chilblains just listening to you. It was terrible. So I wanted to give myself a pat on the back for keeping the bus running. Doesn't a dedicated coachman deserve an extra penny per passenger? You're digging a deeper hole for yourself here. If only there had been a 5th passenger on the omnibus that night. Then we would have had another suspect.
Hold it!
Does that mean everyone on board that night paid 5 pence instead of 4? Well, I paid 5 pence too, sir. And I just told you that I did. A flat fare of 5 pence across the board. It's not something to be proud of. The so-called discrepancy my learned friend identified as nothing of the sort. Much like the phantom killer you so desperately needed is gone. It's gone. Dead and buried. I'd have been happy if it had never ever existed in the first place. Ever existed, not never. He fiddled us on things. Okay. This blood-curdling sight, you mean the murder, I presume? Yes, sir.
Excuse me!
Well, Mr. Beppo. Oh, me, sir. Do you have something to add in retaliation to the last statement? Well, sir, there's just one thing, sir. I was wondering what was going to become about Omnibus, sir, after the trial. What do you mean? I can't help wondering, will no one want to ride my cursed carriage someone was killed in? Or will everyone want to ride in it? Yes, the cursed carriage could be an attraction, maybe. It could be a sink or swim moment for me. Oh yes, I think it will be. Well, if you could just focus on the testimony for the time being, please.
Hold it!
This blood-curdling sight. You mean the murder, I presume? Yes, sir. A loathsome sight. No one should have to witness the horror in the eyes of a man the moment his life is taken. Oh, well, not exactly, sir. I mean, I didn't actually see the exact moment he was stabbed. What? Good gracious, really? We have another witness who did, however. The banker has already testified to it. But Mr. First didn't actually see the point at which the victim was killed. It may turn out to be very significant. I heard the banker gent next to me take a sharp intake of breath. See? That's when I looked through the glass. That's when I saw the horrible blade poking out from his belly, all covered in blood. Every time I see a knife now, I can't help screaming, even when I'm eating. You have good news. What's your news, Goo?
Hold it!
So you saw the defendant, Mr. McGilded, stabbing the victim, Mr. Mason, who was sitting next to him. That's what I said, isn't it? It was bothering me before, this was. For just a brief moment, he hesitated before answering the question. Anyway, there was only two of them inside the carriage, wasn't there? There's been much talk of a fifth passenger, but as of yet, zero evidence. Then what are we wasting time? Then what are we wasting all this time for, eh? It's black and white. The man's guilty. Something about Mr. Fairplay's testimony just jars with me. Wish I could work out what it was. Somehow we've managed to keep our chances alive here. If you're not careful when you press these witnesses, the danger is that the jury will end up believing something unhelpful as they did before. Maybe, but we can't let the fear of that happening stop us from uncovering important new information. Yes, you're so right. I need to pay careful attention here. I don't want to miss even a flicker of a reaction among these witnesses. Remember, if you happen to spot one of the witnesses reacting in a strange way, okay, yeah, we'll have to pursue the banker, I think, when he makes his testimony. Right here. I put in my 2 weeks on my shitty job. Last day is the 13th. Nice! You have another awesome one lined up? Another good job? That's good to hear.
Hold it!
Alright, so we're gonna pursue him here. So we can't pursue him. Interesting. Working your other one now. Oh, nice. Okay, so I don't understand. I need to pursue him on that one testimony, but it doesn't give me the option. So do I need to... press.
Huh. I don't understand. So... Here, let's press Beppo and then pursue the banker. Earlier, you testified that you saw the victim when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you? Oh, yes. Yes, that's right. You said that the victim was on the floor and described that the assailant was holding the knife in an ice pick grip. I suppose. I might have, you know, yes. Put the cart before the horse, maybe. What's this? Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was driving the horses when I heard a scream from the seats on the roof deck. Oh. I expect that was me, sir.
Excuse me.
If I may, Mr. Fairplay, what are you fosking for now? That last statement appears to have given you pause for thought. Oh, fuck. I don't know when the fuck he's reacting. He doesn't really change any, like, during the whole testimony. That's what's weird. Maybe I just need to hear the coachman out just a bit more. Just go through his entire thing.
Hold it!
Let's see here. Fuck! I keep pressing the button. Sorry, guys. Let's hear this guy's the full pressing part of it. I suppose I might have, you know, yes, put the cart before the horse. Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. It was driving seats on the roof deck. Oh, I expect that was me, sir. Fuck! The gentleman was on the floor, the knife was sticking out of his midriff. That's right, yes. And the fellow holding the handle was the famous man, yes. So in short, you didn't see the moment the victim was actually stabbed at all. I really thought that I did, but when I go over it again in my head, no, I suppose I didn't actually see the precise moment of stabbing. There it is! Wow, that's pretty obvious. I should really look for something so exaggerated rather than just a little tiny. Yeah, bruh, what are you, what's going on, man?
Excuse me.
You alright? Seem to be having a bit of a panic attack there. Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay? Now you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. He didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? Eh? Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. I might be able to extract some new information from him if I answer him cleverly. Could he have just happened to see the exact moment the crime was committed? Let's see. Some days are like that. Well, I suppose some days are like that. Sooner or later, you'll see something you wish you hadn't. If you're always peeping through a skylight on the top of an omnibus... Peeping? I'm a respectable city banker, I'll have you know. And I know what I saw. I remember it as clear as a Ballarat day.
It was a grim scene, I don't mind telling you. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay. Oh, excuse me if I was getting a little hot under the collar there, my lord. I would ask you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw. Oh, I can do that all right. I'll tell you just how grim it was. Here we go. Do you think I'd forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands after the butcher stabbed the man?
Hold it!
Blood-soaked? Well, perhaps soaked is laying it on a little thick, but anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them. They were covered in it. And you saw that from the roof. From the roof. Through the skylight. Well, the skylight's reasonably large, so I had a pretty good view. There was a lamp on inside the carriage as well, so I'm quite sure of what I saw. It's Banker's latest statement. I feel sure there's something not quite right about it. When you feel something doesn't add up, Mr. Naruhodo, that's where you should go have a good look through the record. Not long ago, this trial very nearly came to an end. Somehow we managed to keep our chances alive here. Oh, it's just repeating the end of it. Cool. Alright. So we need to present evidence that they were both covered in blood. I'm gonna assume we need to show the... So internal hemorrhaging means he bled from the inside. But he did bleed out, so we know he bled out. Fuck. Let's press him one more time. I want to read it through. I should have just read the history, but whatever. Blood soaked. Well, perhaps soaked is laying it on a little thick. But anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. You saw from the roof through the skylight. Well, the skylight's reasonably large, so I had a pretty good view. And there was a lamp on inside the carriage as well, so I'm quite sure of what I saw. Okay. Alright, let me check the record. Okay, so neither of the seats... Okay, so one of the seats, this seat, he was seated here. He saw down inside, and there was a lamp. He's correct about it. But they weren't both covered in blood, because... I mean, is this going to be one of those Phoenix Wright, like... I know what they're doing. I thought it might be the gloves, but I have a feeling this is one of those weird leaps of logic that they throw at you in these games. What the heck? Where they're going to be like, oh, but there's no blood on this seat. I feel like it's going to be one of those. I have a feeling. Because he said there was glove-soaked hands, or blood-soaked hands. So if I provide the gloves... I don't know, this is one of those leaps of logic moments where I'm going to have to just guess. Let's try and do this.
Objection!
I'm going to subject... Nope, I was wrong. Yeah, we're trying to say he's wrong. They were both soaked in blood. I don't...
Objection!
It's the gloves. That's weird. Blood-soaked. Hands. You were right. It was the gloves. Well, I admit that the blood-soaked may be laying it on a little thick, but... But anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's more than a little peculiar. What? Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGilded, had on, worn by the defendant, Mr. McGilded, on the night in question. It only looks like one has blood. It says only the right hand has blood on it. Yeah, it's like being very specific. They're covered in blood. It's like, what? Let's see. Oh, yes. Right. And there certainly does appear to be a sizable dark-colored stain here, but as I'm sure you can clearly see, it's only on the right-handed glove. He's nibbling at his cane. In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent. Yeah, but no, that can't be right. So you're the liar here, then? Gah. That's right. You were quite clear about it. You said it was in both hands. Gah. Mr. Fairplay, if your last statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth?
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't both hands. It was only one, but the fact remains. The victim's blood was on the accused.
Objection!
No. Mr. Fairplay categorically stated that he saw blood all over both hands, which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court. Gah! Why? I'm a city banker, for pity's sake. My word should be the gold standard. I'm a gentleman, not some gutter snipe. Upstanding members of society don't prevaricate? Prevaricate. I'm gonna assume that's how you pronounce that. He claims to have no reason to lie, but is that really the case? Mr. Naruhodo, if we had some evidence to explain why Mr. Fairplay might be lying, it could turn the tide of this trial completely. Let me check the court record. We'll just check this motherfucker. What's in this book? I haven't looked at this book. This portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets of London's gentry. Oh dear. Do you really think we ought to look inside? Well, it's not as though we know any of London's gentry personally, is it? Apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Actually, I wonder. I assure you we will not find Mr. Sholmes' name inside. Well, let's see what we find. Hit me with the deets. Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it? Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off. Ah, goodness! What is it? Look at this! Do you see the name here? Bruce Fairplay. Should that mean something to me? Is it... It does sound strangely familiar, actually. Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying in this very moment. Oh, yes, of course! The banker! Why is his name in here? Ah, he borrowed 20 guineas, did he? And look, the repayment date is fast approaching. It's possible that this is just a coincidence, of course, but this could be very useful information. Haha. We got it. I have evidence. My lord? Yes, counsel? The defense is ready to present evidence. By Jove, are you sure? Yes. Evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had a reason to lie in his testimony. Gah! Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence. The evidence that demonstrates a motive for the witness's alleged deception of the court.
Take that!
This is a list of debtors who owe money to Mr. McGilded. Yes, a list of innocent victims crippled by the accused extortion. The point is, among the names of these debtors in your name, is your name Mr. Bruce Fairplay. What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted financially to the accused? No. Well, it's barely worth being called a debt. According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas. Not an inconsiderable sum of money, wouldn't you say? Well, what of it? Let's suppose Mr. McGilded were to be found guilty of murder. What would become of your debt in that case? These documents state that the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, were the creditor, the defendant here, to be sentenced to capital punishment, all outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled. They would cease to exist. Cease to exist? He's trying to kill him. He's trying to get him dead. Oh no, don't understand, Ori. Like, Mr. McGilded's gonna die if he loses this. He'll hang. He'll hang for it. He wants him dead so that his debt doesn't affect him anymore. Mr. Fairplay, is it not the case that you claimed in your testimony? No, it's cool. It's just like, that's even more brutal. It's like, bro, you're trying to kill a guy to get out of debt? What's wrong with you, man? Is it not the case that you claimed in your testimony to have seen something you never in fact saw, in a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant? God. Order, order, order. Mr. Bruce Fairplay. Yes, my lord. Let me ask you again, and be aware that your answer may have the most serious implications upon your future, sir. Did you, or did you not, see the precise moment in time at which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim? Your silence speaks volumes. You did not tell the truth in your testimony. All right. Now let's not make a melodrama out of this. Perhaps I did overstate the truth a pinch. No, it doesn't sound like fair play. I think that's supposed to be the pun. A pinch. But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood on Mr. McGilded's hands. Both of them.
Objection!
And yet, only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have here as evidence, is stained. God. So you keep saying. I wonder if I might be allowed to speak, sir. Go ahead, Mr. First. Well, the thing is, I remember seeing it myself, as it happens. Seeing what? The blood, sir, on the assailant's hands. I think, yes. I'm almost sure that it was both of his hands, not just one. What? What? Huh. It would appear that we're going to need further testimony from all you witnesses. This time I would like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Do I make myself perfectly clear? Yes. Mr. Naruhodo, this is good news. The course of the trial seems to have shifted slightly at last. Yes. I might finally have a chance to turn things around here. Well, it makes sense since the dude did say he tried to help the dude when he woke him up. Yeah. It's true. There was blood on both hands of the assailant. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say that I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters. I remember seeing the knife. I remember seeing both of the attacker's hands with blood on them. I didn't actually see anything myself. No, not until I heard that scream. Anyway, the fact remains, there can't have been anyone else inside that carriage, or we all would have seen. Well, lo and behold, in truth of fact, not one of you was witness to the crucial moment the crime was perpetrated. I apologize, my lord, but honestly, there was no one else inside that carriage, and the man's hands were covered in blood. That much incriminating evidence is tantamount to saying we saw the man do it. That's really not what testimony is about. Let us examine the interior of the omnibus once more. The victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat, corroborating the witness's accounts. In other words, there is no substantial nor significant change in the facts of the case. Very well. Your cross-examination, please, counsel. Yes, my lord. Yes, my lord. Blah, blah, blah. He's not British. I mean, he is British, but I'm trying to differentiate him from the British people. Alright, let's press these dudes. What up, dude? What are you talking about? No. The evidence tells us otherwise. We have the gloves the defendant was wearing on the night in question in the court record. I'm well aware of that, sir. But nevertheless, I know what I saw and I stand by it. The man had blood on both his hands. He's defiant, even in the face of hard evidence. He's steadfastly refusing to admit that he might be mistaken about what he saw. But why? Your reasoning is dire. One hand or two, the salient point remains unchanged. Minutes after the grim crime, the victim's blood dripped guiltily from the accused fingers.
Hold it!
Don't try to downplay this. Whether or not you saw the exact moment of the crime is a matter of fundamental importance as well, you know. But, for crying out loud, we all know no one else could possibly have done it. It was just trying to save us all some time. You have a loan of 20 guineas outstanding with the defendant, do you not? Had you hoped to release yourself from the financial burden by ensuring the defendant was found guilty... There's nothing on the floor? That's true. Well, that's not entirely... not what I was hoping for. I just lost a little guinea, or 10 when I backed the wrong horse in the derby, that's all. I was going to win it all back. There's a fixture this weekend, that's a sure thing. Aha, a little guinea or 10. I'm a banker. No one bats an eye if I borrow a little spending money for the weekend. I know, right? Bro, don't admit it. I think you may have revealed rather more about your character than you bargained for, sir. The witness's scruples are not on trial here. Proceed to the next witness. Is that really how it's supposed to work?
Hold it!
Alright, you see blood on both his hands too, huh? You definitely saw that too. Blood on both hands. Yes, sir. I know what you're going to say. Only one of McGilda's gloves has any sign of blood on it. That's right. The thing is, as far as I remember, sir, when I looked down and saw Mr. McGilded sitting beside the other fellow, I don't believe he was wearing any gloves, sir. He wasn't wearing gloves? That's correct, sir. and I saw the blood on both his bare hands quite clearly. It's true that the dark-colored stain on the dark leather gloves wouldn't have been easy to see. I should point out that the police officer who apprehended the accused on the night in question reported that there was no trace of blood on Mr. McGilded's gloved hands. There wasn't blood on his hands. This is puzzling indeed. This must be significant somehow, I'm sure of it.
Hold it!
You didn't see anything? Oh, yes, sir. That is to say, no, sir, I didn't. Very sorry about what I said before, sir. Very sorry, yes. It was very wrong of me to make up stories and say I saw him stab a man. Wouldn't you agree, sir? I know what you're insinuating, but I certainly wasn't making up stories. Still, to say you saw nothing isn't right either, is it? No, sir. I saw nothing at all. Mr. Beppo, you were driving your horses. At the very least, you must have enjoyed a good view of London streets, no? Oh, please. You didn't even see that. It was so cold that night, you see. It was all I could do to keep from passing out, sir. Yes, my head was fairly frozen solid. Sorry to say, sir. It would seem prudent to avoid travel on the last omnibus service of London's cold winter nights. Beppo! Alright, last guy.
Hold it!
And everything you saw of the incident was through the skylight on the roof of the omnibus. That's right. It was fiercely cold that night, but the glass wasn't frosted over. Oh, yes, I remember. I was shivering. It was so bitter. Which rather begs the question of why the pair of you were sitting on the roof deck in the first place. Well, I don't know about this young fellow, but I couldn't enter the cabin. Oh, why not? It was locked from the inside. I tried knocking, but no one opened the door. It was locked? That's right! It's a public service. It's a public bus service, for pity's sake. It's not what I call fair play. Oh, pfft. Yes, I had the exact same experience. I tried knocking, but the gent inside just gestured at me to clear off. So I had no choice but to climb up to the roof deck and look down longingly into the warm cabin below. Well, I can assure you I wasn't just looking down, I was glaring long and hard. And that's precisely why I can tell you with absolute confidence that if there was anyone else at all in that cabin, I would have noticed. Unequivocal use, I would say. I'm not sure about these two witnesses. Could they really have seen everything inside the cabin through the skylight? No. Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay, and I actually know this because the way the cabin is set up. They would have only been able to see one set of seats. You were riding this omnibus and witnessed the events in the cabin through the skylight on the floor to the upper deck, is that right? That's right, yes. In that case, there was a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you. What? By golly, really? Obviously, at this stage, we can't say for sure, but the possibility cannot be denied that at the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus.
Objection!
Enough hypothetical meandering, my Nipponese friend. The prosecution demands you substantiate your claims. After all, the scene of the crime is here, in the flesh. Very well. I will uphold the prosecution's demand. You will identify the area on this cross-sectional plan of the omnibus. Where exactly in the omnibus are you suggesting that the potential extra passenger could have been situated? Right.
Take that!
Both rows of seats on the roof face in the direction of travel. Whereas the seats in the enclosed cabin face each other. Which means the visible part of the cabin, which the passengers on the roof to see through the skylight, is as I've drawn here. Ah. That's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite the one of which the victim and his attacker were sitting is obscured from view. In other words, if someone had been sitting on that seat, it's quite possible that these witnesses would have been completely unaware of it.
Objection!
It's quite possible some phantom was sitting there. You Nipponese have a forbidding habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity. Bro, it's not because he's Japanese, dog. Chill the fuck out. You racist white asshole. I concur with the prosecution's rejoinder. In a British court of law, evidence is paramount. I cannot entertain this conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you are able to put a name to this mysterious passenger to whom you allude. Can you, Mr. Naruhodo? I honestly don't know. Who could it have been? Who could have been in the other seat, which was out of sight from the witnesses on the roof deck? Why do I have a feeling? I don't know. I don't know who it could have been. My theory is it's the Stabby McStabby, juror, personally. That's who I think it was. But I have no proof of that, of course. I'm gonna say I have no idea. Ugh. I have literally no idea. But as a proud citizen of the Japanese Empire, you will look to the sky and walk on, making sure all signs of tears are gone. Go on. This isn't just a case of going on, Miss Susato. Alright then, I'll go on. Wow, that look. The defense would like to put forward a name. You are a fool. That response was a desperate attempt by a man who has no notion of his own limitations. A toast to hard lessons not yet learnt. But I don't think he's a person you can click. He isn't, unfortunately. Let us not delay, counsel. The defense has still to name the passenger on the other seat. This could be it. This could be the chance I've been waiting for to turn the trial in my favor. On that night, on the night of the murder, the person occupying the seat in the omnibus cabin was obscured from view was... Fuck if I know, Jesus! I'm literally just throwing this into the wind. There's no way for me to know. Was it the Timid Hat dude? Were they on at the same time? I mean, they would have corrected each other if they weren't, like...
Yeah, my history doesn't go back that far, so I can't tell. Huh. They both say they were on the roof. Neither of them could get into the omnibus. What if it was Magnus? What if Magnus isn't the one they saw that was next to him? What if Magnus was on the opposite seat? See, in Ace Attorney games, you have to play this hilarious game of trying to... Yeah, he was sleeping. We have to play this entire game of trying to reverse engineer the crazy leaps of logic they throw at you. It was Magnus. 100%. I bet my life on it. The passenger in the enclosed cabin that the witnesses on the roof failed to see has to have been Mr. Magnus McGilded. Mr. McGilded? What are you talking about, counsel? That's the name of the defendant.
Objection!
Damn, dude, you're gonna set the place on fire. There it was. That was the animation.
If I desecrate this chamber by smashing my hallowed chalice, do forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Van Zeeks.
People talk of those tiny island nations in the Far East as having a learning and culture of their own. But I see they use their terms ill-advisedly.
What are you trying to say?
Let me explain in terms that even a student of an artless backwater such as yourself might understand. When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and his assailant were sitting side by side.
The person got him from the same side. Right, exactly.
Multiple witnesses have attested to the fact. It's the very premise of which this case is built.
But that premise may be wrong.
What?
If the victim really was sitting beside Mr. McGilded, it creates an inconsistency that can't be reconciled in any way. What inconsistency, counsel? The defendant's gloves... I know, that guy's racist as fuck. The defendant's gloves, my lord. Both witnesses made the same testimony. They claim that there was blood on both hands of the person sitting next to the victim.
Objection!
Yet we know the truth to be otherwise. Only one glove bears the gory remains.
Objection!
The point is, even in the face of this irrefutable evidence, both the witnesses have maintained their stance. Yeah, it was set up. Yes, their testimony remains unchanged. Exactly. They both adamantly swear that they clearly remember seeing blood on both hands of the assailant. In short, their memory of events is correct, and their testimony reveals the truth. It was somebody else sitting beside the victim that night, a third party we have yet to identify. And the victim's blood was on the passenger's hands, both of them.
Objection!
And who was this third party?
Obviously, the true culprit.
Extraordinary.
Order! Order! What exactly are you postulating?
Objection!
The defense's postulation is just that. Nothing more than conjecture. The witnesses have clearly stated that they saw the accused.
Objection!
But when elaborating on his testimony, Mr. Fairplay said the two of them were wearing hats and couldn't exactly make out their faces. Yes. The tops of their heads were obscured by the roof. I could see the rest of them, though. Yes, that's right. Both gents were most certainly hatted. Hatters do tend to notice such things, sir.
What particular styles of hat did the two gentlemen sport, Mr. First? I'm afraid I don't remember. You call yourself a hatter? The style of hat makes no difference. There was no third passenger in the cabin. How can you be so sure? Because if there had been, the accused, Mr. McGilded, would undoubtedly have offered to depose the fact. Unless, that is, you are proposing an even more preposterous explanation. That the accused failed to even notice the presence of the true culprit in the very cabin in which he traveled. Ah. But he was asleep. He's right. If there was another person traveling in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus, it's inconceivable that Mr. McGilded would have been unaware of it. Yeah, probably. He probably did get in. Order! There was clearly a simple solution to this problem. Bring the accused, Mr. McGilded, to the stand. Well, what say you, counsel? The prosecution objects, my lord. On what grounds? As a suspect, he will have already made a full statement to the police. But what if there's more? What if there's some reason why he's unable to speak freely? Magnus McGilded is no uneducated ruffian. If it indeed turns out to be the man If it indeed turns out the man has been withholding information, you can be sure it will have been a most deliberate act. Yeah, I know, they need to let him talk. Counsel for the defense, what is your opinion? My lord? Should we ask Mr. McGilded to testify or not? I mean, yes? Yes, we need to hear what he has to say in order to find out the truth. The defense would like to call Mr. McGilded to the stand. In that case, I would like to hear the opinion of the jury. Ah, yes, I need a little time to consider this. If you ask me, I think we should hear what Mr. McGilded has to say. Get that man out here, I say! It would be utterly illogical not to hear his testimony. When something needs doing, get it done. That's how I run things at the guild. Hearing what the patron of my favorite little park has to say. Oh yes, that would be lovely. Yes! The jury says the man must be heard. Very well. The court will have to hear the defendant's testimony. Bailiff, show the defendant to the stand at once. Wrong voice. I need a drink. My throat hurts. Now, maybe what actually happened last night will finally become clear. Let us proceed. Let the proceedings be resumed. Mr. McGilded, have you been listening to the discourse of the day? To be sure I have, my lord. There are now two matters on which the court desires to hear from you. The first is whether or not there was a third party with you in the omnibus cabin, as proposed by the defense. The second is that if such a person was indeed present, why did you conceal that fact from the police? Big God, no. 'Tis not my nature to hide anything at all. Just answer the questions, please. The truth of the matter is, I've been desperate about this all along. Do I tell yous all, or keep my mouth shut? Tell us what, Mr. McGilded? The fine fellow representing me is absolutely right. In the carriage on the night with myself and the other man, there was another passenger. It's true. Aye. And 'twas me who helped the little urchin get away after it all happened. You... What? No, Mr. Magnus McGilded. That convenient excuse can't save you now. I'm truly sorry, so I am, Lord Van Zeeks. I'm sure you'll be wanting to know why I said nothing when I was taken by the police. I do be having a very good reason, I assure you. Which was? Well, the little child was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And not in any way involved, you see? What? If the police had known the wee one was there, they'd have assumed she'd done it. And they'd have hold her into they would hold her into this here courtroom just like myself. I was only trying to spare her that. Young hearts and young minds are easily damaged, my lord. I know, right? He's protecting a kid? Like, what? And who was this young child of whom you speak? That I don't know. You don't know? Aye, well, the wee thing just happened to be in the carriage that night. I never saw her before or since.
Objection!
We have absolutely no reason to believe this man. The prosecution calls for the witnesses' statements to be disregarded by the court. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the urchin isn't here in this courtroom as we speak, listening to the proceedings. What just happened? Smoke! Fire! There's a fire! Look, someone's trying to get away! After them! It's no use! I can't see anything. What is going on? Be careful, Mr. Naruhodo. Cover your face. Bailiff! Don't let the accused escape. Secure the omnibus. I hereby call an emergency recess. Bailiff! Ensure the defendant is in custody and clear the courtroom. We were hurriedly removed from the smoke-filled courtroom by the bailiff, amid scenes of chaos as people stumbled over one another in their desperation to flee the chamber. We had no idea what was happening. All we knew was that, for the time being at least, the trial was suspended. I don't know. To be continued, though, for the next stream, because we've been streaming for 3.5 hours, and I need a break. But it's good. That was really fun. I like the juror system. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, it's been a while. We've been streaming for a while. It has been a blast, though. All right, guys. I think it's just you, Ori. You're the only one here, I think. But catch you guys on the other one. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens next time. Pretty interested to see what's gonna happen. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Oh. All right, guys. Adios.